Well, this is unexpected to say the least. Nintendo has just announced that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild will be getting some DLC. Nintendo is calling this the Expansion Pass, and it's going to retail for around $20 or 1/3 of the entire game's retail price. So, for 20 bucks, what do you get? Well, the DLC is split up into 3 different parts. The first part releases alongside the game on March 3rd and gives you 3 new chests that you can find at the Great Plateau, which contain useful items, as well as some exclusive in-game clothing. The next DLC pack releases in summer of 2017 and adds a new Cave of Trials challenge, a new hard mode, implying that one might already exist, and additional map features, whatever the heck that means. And the final DLC pack releases in holiday of 2017, which contains a new original story, a new dungeon, and additional challenges. Again, being a little vague on that last one. Now, you might be expecting me to be really excited for this because, you know, it's more Zelda content. Who wouldn't want that? Well, here's the thing. I've always been iffy on the idea of DLC. Never totally against it, mind you, and I've bought my fair share of DLC in the past, but iffy nonetheless. Nintendo first started experimenting with DLC on the Wii U, and honestly, they were one of the few video game companies that in my eyes were doing DLC correctly. The prices they charged were fair comparative to the content they were offering, and all DLC was developed and released after the game's initial launch. So let's break this down even further because I want you guys to fully understand why I'm not as excited as some other people seem to be about this announcement. Let's start with the Expansion Pass bonus. As I said, this includes 3 treasure chests that contain useful items and some in-game clothing. The in-game clothing is perfectly fine. Cosmetic items like this are usually developed by the art team during the final stages of the game's development when things are being optimized for release, so they really don't have anything else to do at that point. That's fine because it's not actually taking away development time from somewhere else to work on something with the intent to charge the player for it. But then we get into the 3 new chests and the items that they contain, and this is where I take most of my issues. These chests and items release on March 3rd, the same day the game comes out, meaning there is absolutely no reason these should not have been included in the base game for everyone to enjoy. Which likely means development time was actually taken away from Breath of the Wild at some point to work on these DLC items with the intent to charge the player for them at launch. And I personally find that a little bit insulting. Now I know harping on just 3 items seems a little bit whiny. Yeah, I can totally see that. But what if these 3 items are really good weapons or armor? What if they make the Great Plateau a lot easier? That could almost be considered pay to win for that part of the game. Anyway, I'm going to move on and talk about the other 2 DLC packs now, starting with the Summer 2017 pack, because these DLC packs are releasing after the game's initial release. I'm a little more accepting of the content they're offering, like for instance, a new Cave of Trials challenge sounds like it'll be similar to the Savage Labyrinth or Cave of Ordeals from previous Zelda games. And you know what? That sounds great. Assuming they didn't start working on this until after the game went gold, I have no issues with it. However, a new hard mode and additional map features seem really vague. This probably confirms they haven't done any work on these yet besides initial planning, so who really knows what this will entail, but as of right now I feel like those 2 bullet points could just be sent out as a free update. The Cave of Trials is really the only selling point to me on this DLC pack if I'm being totally honest. Then we come to the final DLC pack that releases in holiday of 2017. Rightfully so, since this one is packed with a new original story, a new dungeon, and additional challenges. Again, a little vague on the challenges, but I'll let it slide since the new original story and dungeon are really the selling points to not only this DLC pack, but the entire DLC in general. I feel like I should mention that this alone sold me on the DLC. I think $20 for a new story and dungeon is totally worth it. The extra stuff is debatable, but that's not really my issue. So I guess to summarize this video, my issue isn't with the DLC itself, my issue is with the potential development time lost to the Expansion Pass bonus Day 1 DLC. As much as I love Nintendo, I will admit as fans, we can sometimes turn a blind eye to them when they do something like this. But if you take this situation and remove Nintendo and Zelda and replace it with, say, Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed, I guarantee you there would be way more outrage. If the Day 1 DLC was just cosmetic items, I would totally be fine with it. But it's not, and as little as those 3 chests may seem, it still means that on launch, Breath of the Wild is missing something without them. And honestly, the way it's worded makes it seem like these items might be something you could find outside of the Great Plateau. So maybe my entire point of development time spent on these items is completely off basis, and Nintendo could have just copy and pasted some chests from somewhere else. That could very well be the case, but my point of why isn't it included with the $60 game price still stands. There is no excuse as to why it isn't part of the initial release. If the entire Day 1 DLC pack was just a Day 1 update, this entire video would have no point, but I digress. DLC is a very dangerous slope when done incorrectly. I felt burned a number of times by buying DLC, or even not buying DLC and missing out on the full experience of a game because I couldn't afford or didn't want to pay more on top of the $60 I already paid expecting a complete experience. Besides my complaint with the Day 1 DLC, overall I think this pack is probably worth the $20 and I will be buying it on launch, with good faith that Nintendo won't burn me like other companies have. And at the end of the day, that's sort of what DLC boils down to. We the consumers having faith in the developers to hold up their end of the bargain. Nintendo hasn't done anything in the past with DLC to make me believe otherwise, but I will remain ever vigilant going forward when buying DLC from them, because I don't know about you guys, but I really have a hard time supporting Day 1 DLC. Anyway, that's where I'm going to end off this video, but of course it's open for discussion, so let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you like the DLC? Will you be getting it? I can't wait to see what you guys think. Once again though, if you enjoyed this video, a like rating would be greatly appreciated. If you want to see more of my videos, consider subscribing. But once again guys, my name is Matt, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.